My name is Jerry Gill. Today is April 18th, 2009. We're on the campus of Oklahoma State University in Gallagher-Iba Arena. I'm interviewing Jim Dobson, who played on the 1959 OSU Baseball NCAA Championship Team. This interview is the part of the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program, an oral interview program for the project, the O State projects. Okay, Jim, let me ask you a couple of things. I know we said you played on the 1959 NCAA Championship Baseball Team, and your teammates are here on campus for, I think, a 50-year reunion. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
Celebrating that championship year. Is this special for you?
Absolutely. Wish we would do it every year.
Oh, yeah. Well, who are some of the guys, Jim, on the team you were especially close with? You remember, sure, you get close to all of them, but some of your roommates or guys you were close to?
Well, there were four of us that went to the same high school in Oklahoma City,
Mm-hmm.
Capitol Hill, Dick Sorgel and Ray Bond, Don Sorgel, and myself.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So I played against Dick all the way back in junior high. We played against each other, and then he was a year ahead of me, but then we played 2 years in high school. Then we played through his graduation at OSU.
So y'all were pretty close before you ever got to OSU then?
Well, yeah, we played a lot of athletic games because Dick was a three-sport letterman here at OSU, and I played three sports in high school, and actually I tried to play three here, but I only played about a year and a half in basketball and 2 years in football. So I got to play a lot with Dick.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, you were a running back, so I called Jim. Was that right?
Yes,
I was
running
running back, I think.
Well, I started a little while until I got hit too many times.
You had some concussions, did you?
No. I had a knee operated on,
Mm-hmm.
and for my senior year in football, concentrated on baseball.
What I want to ask you some questions about about your team and obviously about the championship year.
Okay.
But first, can we go back and share a little bit about where you grew up, a little bit about your family, and some of your early life?
Okay, just ad-libbing then.
Okay.
Well, I grew up mostly in Oklahoma City and lived on the north side until I was about 5 and remember very little of it. And then my parents moved over to the south side of Oklahoma City. And I attended the Oklahoma City School, public schools, went through Jackson Junior High School, and then I went to Capitol Hill Senior High School, and was fortunate enough to have coaches like Coach C.B. Spiegel interested in me, and he came and talked to me on the high school campus and offered me a scholarship, and I accepted it and came to OSU. And the one thing that I thought was a little bit maybe interesting to somebody, but when Coach Spiegel was interviewing me, he said, we really want you and so forth. And I said, well, I have a question I'd like to ask you. And he said, well, what is it? And I said, well, if I come on a football scholarship, could I also play baseball? And he said, if you want to, that's fine. I kind of think that in my memory, but we're talking 50 plus years ago, that was kind of the way that it came down. And when I made the decision to come to Oklahoma State.
Can you recall what your interest in Oklahoma State? Was there a certain reason or certain person that attracted you to Oklahoma State?
Well, Coach Spiegel was a very excellent recruiter, and he came and interviewed or came to talk to me, and I thought that he was really a very classy individual. And he said one thing to me, and you impress high school athletes by trying to compliment them, and he was very complimentary, and he said, well, last year we think we got the best player in the state of Oklahoma in Dick Sorgel. And he said, we want the best player this year, Jim Dobson. That sort of makes you
That's pretty flattering.
turns your head. It's very flattering. That's thank you.
Great. So what year did you enroll at Oklahoma State?
1957.
57. Mm-hmm. And what do you call what your first impressions of OSU were? Of course, you might have been on campus before you got here, but when you got here, some of your early impressions of the campus?
Well, my first vivid memory of OSU was I don't think I had ever been on campus until I was recruited.
Okay.
If I had, I do not remember it. But I had been to OU, and I remember that the OU campus was a big contrast in my mind to the OSU campus, because everything was green and just looked great. And OU had a lot of that red clay, and they hadn't planted grass on it. And I thought to myself, gosh, this seems unusual for a big university like Oklahoma to have that kind of a, the grass wasn't all over the place. And OSU was just beautiful. Theta palm was gorgeous, trees, grass, everything was manicured very well. And I was quite impressed, more than I thought I would be, because it was really a beautiful campus.
But Jim, what are some highlights of your, non-sports undergraduate experience, activities, things you did? There's some memories that stand out for you.
Well, I'll tell you a kind of a humorous story. I thought it was a little humorous, and I hate to say it this way, but I don't know how else to bring this up. I'm not bragging or anything. I'm just trying to give you facts. When I was before the College World Series in 1959, I was a sophomore at that time, I had taken a speech class here on the campus because I was a pretty bad public speaker, and I thought I needed that. And so I took the class, and I think I made a C in the class, and I was really pretty bad. And I'll jump forward now to when we won the 59 championship. And I think it was the trainer, Byron Bird. Did you ever know him?
Knew Byron.
I thought you did. I think it was him that said to me the night before we played the championship game, he said, "Get your speech ready." And I said, "Pardon me?" He says, "Get your speech ready. You're going to be the MVP." And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, well, he knows kind of what he's talking about. Maybe I better. Well, I'm going to fast forward a little more now, and when the game was over and we won it, why, I did get that award, and I didn't know it, but it was on the radio. And I didn't know it, but my speech teacher was listening to the game. And this was in June of 59 when we won it. And so I didn't come back to the campus until September, a little later, when we started the next year. And my speech teacher looked me up. And he said, "Jim, I'm so proud of you. I told everybody that you were one of my students." And he said, "You socked it to them on that speech and everything." So I thought that was kind of a humorous story, because I was terrible in the class.
Did you ask him if it's too late to change your grade for the course?
I should have done that.
What do you remember were some of your favorite hangouts on campus and off campus?
Oh, I better not. This is going to be in the archives forever, isn't it? I better be careful what I say here. One of the things that I do really remember was that I was pretty serious about baseball, and I wanted to. My ambition was to go to the big leagues. And one of my teachers in high school came up to talk to me during class, and he said, "Jim, you're going to get an opportunity." I think I was a sophomore in high school. He said, "You're going to get an opportunity to go to a big college university, but they're not going to take you if you don't make those grades." And so I sort of remember that, and I kind of buckled down and tried to get my grades, because the other thing he said to me, maybe a lot of people won't know this, but the south side of Oklahoma City is not the rich part of town. And my Mr. Hiller was the teacher's name, and he said, I think he said this to me, forgive me if my memory is not really good, but you'll get the point. He said, "This is your ticket out of here, and you need to take advantage of it and get those grades." And I thought that was really good advice, because I got an opportunity to get a college education through my athletics, and especially football was what got me the scholarship, and then I switched over after that. But one of my memories was that I thought that was really my opportunity to find a pathway in life that would get me far down the road, and a college education was very important to me.
So you spent a lot of time in the library then?
Well, I don't think I spent a lot of the time in the library, but in those days, I thought about girls, and if I could get a C, that was fine. Yeah. But when this teacher told me that, he said, "I don't take it if you don't have good grades." And I ended up being on what they called the principal's honor roll. You had to have a B or better average, and I wasn't a straight A student by any stretch of the imagination, but I was able to make the principal's honor roll. And so I must have made some B's. And I do remember the one class I made an A in trigonometry. I was really proud of that because the teacher just said, "Oh, you need to come to my class." And she saw things that I couldn't see at that time.
Jim, let me fast forward a little bit. I want to get back to that championship year in the team.
Okay.
But after you left, OSU, can you tell us a little bit about your career, your life after you left Oklahoma State University?
Well, I didn't graduate because I didn't have enough hours. My ambition was to play as much as I could, and I wanted to be a three-sport person. And I played football, basketball, and baseball. But it got to be such a really tough drag that I didn't have any time to do anything but go to class and go to practice or the games, and then no time to study. And so about halfway through my sophomore year in basketball, I had some injuries and I was having difficulties with my ankles. And so I just dropped the basketball because I just didn't have enough time. I was doing nothing but practicing and going to class and didn't even have time to study, and I just knew I couldn't make it that way. And so that gave me a split between the seasons of football and baseball. And after I graduated, I didn't have enough hours because I had cut my hours back. It was tough being a student and a participant, and I loved to participate and compete. And so I needed 18 hours. Well, after the last year in 1961, we played in the College World Series again, and we got beat in the final game by Southern Cal 1-0. So we came in second place that year. And then I signed a contract with the Houston Astros. In those days, they called it the Houston Colt 45s. The next year, they changed it to the Astros. And I spent about 2.5 or 3 years in that organization, and got released and came back and went to work in the business world. And I had gotten my major was in business administration. But after my first year of pro ball, I went to Jacksonville, Florida, and at the end of that season in September, I can't remember exactly what happened, but it may have been the Cuban Bay of Pigs thing when they had that fiasco, and President JFK froze all of the National Guard units all over the United States, and I was scheduled to, by the Houston organization, they wanted to protect their players, and I was already 22 years old, and in those days they thought you ought to be in the big leagues by the time you were 22. They wanted to get you when you were 18 and send you through the minor leagues for 4 or 5 years, and then you either made it or you didn't. And so I needed 18 hours, and Houston said, "We can't protect you from the draft." In those days, they had the draft. Everybody had to register for the draft, as you well know, but the kids today don't know that. And I went to, I called them and I said, "Well, what am I going to do? I'm scheduled to," and they said, "We got the same problem with everybody else in the organization. You're just on your own. We can't do anything. They're going to draft you or whatever they're going to do." Well, I got the paper out and started reading it real big after President Kennedy announced that all the National Guard units were frozen. And it said the last line, if I recall this correctly, anybody that's in school making a C average or better will classify you as 2A. 1A, you were gone. Yeah. And I said, "Well, wait a minute. I didn't graduate. I needed 18 hours. And so what I did was I went ahead and enrolled in OSU the next semester after I'd played that summer complete in Jacksonville. And I spent the next semester getting my degree. And 18 hours is a pretty good load, as you well know. So I took a couple of what I considered to be fairly easy courses, and one of them was called marriage. And of all things, I met my future wife in the marriage class, and we got married, and we're married 24 years and have 2 wonderful daughters as a result of that. So then it was a kind of a turmoil time, and I went back and played more baseball, and then I got released, and then I wanted to play so badly. Roy Peterson, one of the guys that's on the 59 team, was 2 years older than I was, and he was playing in the Chicago Cubs organization, and I'd done everything I knew to get back into pro ball, and I contacted him, and I said, "Can you help me?" He said, "Well, I'll talk to some guys," and they sent me a contract. So Roy got me back in for a short stint, and I went back to pro ball for a short while. I was married by then and didn't make it, so maybe that hopefully is an interesting story for somebody that might care.
So your career, then what did you wind up in?
Then I went into the business world because I had a degree in business administration with management and psychology as minors, and went to work for an oil company for 5 years, and then I went to work for a few other companies that lasted anywhere from 5 to 12 years, but it was all in the field of business. I was in management for a while and decided that I couldn't make as much money, and so I went into sales and made twice as much money and was twice as happy.
That's great. Well, let's see. Let's talk about the championship year,
okay.
the year. Okay. First of all, tell me some things about you remember about Coach Greene, Toby Greene. He was at that time. He was sort of pretty far along in his career, wasn't he?
Yes, I would have estimated him at the time to be somewhere in his 60s, and I thought he was ready for retirement. But I later found out that he coached for several years after I left in '61. But Coach Greene was a man of very few words, and in the 3 years that I played for him, if he ever spoke more than 3 words in a sentence to me, I cannot remember it. But Coach Greene kept most of the stuff inside of his head, and you didn't know really what he was thinking.
What do you think? What were his strengths as a coach?
I think his strengths were that he did not overcoach.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been talking to some of the guys today, and I feel even more strongly that was one of his strengths. That he did not overcoach. He kind of let you do your thing, and as long as you were doing the job, he didn't say very much to you. But if you weren't, he could be on you big time, because I remember some guys that were tremendous baseball players, and Coach Greene gave them some really hard times, but he never said anything to me, so I guess I must have been doing something that he liked.
Did he have a pretty good command of the game, I mean, in terms of being able to size up people, in terms of making
Coach Greene?
Yeah, and what kind of a game day coach was he?
Well, he was no different on game day than he was any other time, but I'll tell you an incident that really kind of opened my eyes. As I told you, I played football for 2 years, and the coaches would kind of double up from one sport to another, and they had him doing the, what do you call it when you go see the team you're going to play the coming week? Scout. He would scout the team. Then he would come in on I think it was like we'd play on Saturdays usually, or Saturday night, and then we'd have a meeting on Sunday night that was just, inside the building, and we would review game film, and then he would give a scouting report for the team the next year. And I was really impressed about his ability to tell us what the other guys were doing, because, as I told you, he never put 3 words together in a sentence that I can recall in 3 years, and he was really good at it. So I think he had a lot more going on inside than he did from what he had to say.
Jim, what do you remember about the pre-Allie Reynolds stadium days in terms of facilities? What was it like?
Well, we had bleachers, as I recall, and it seems like to me, I played third base that year, and the bleachers only ran from like behind home plate out to maybe to third base, give or take, a few yards. And then there was a big hill beyond that down the left field line. And we were fortunate enough to have what I consider to be one of the better teams as far as camaraderie. I think of that team when I think of it in one word, as camaraderie. And we were fortunate to win a lot of games, and people responded to that. And I remember looking down there, and people just filled that hill later in the year when they saw that we had a winning team. And that's my kind of memory of the stadium. I remember one other incident that I thought was funny after the 59 championship year. I moved to the outfield and left field, and before the game, they hit fungos to all the outfielders, and you throw them to each of the bases. And I had one of the people told me was a pretty good throwing arm, and I was playing left field. And this one game that I specifically remember, they had either fertilized or resodded the infield, and they hit me a fungo out there, and I was supposed to throw it, and I threw to second and third, and then I threw it to home. And I thought, hey, that's a pretty good throw, Jim. It landed about halfway between third base and the home plate and just stopped. I don't think it even made it all the way to home plate. So the field was nothing like it was today. I was really impressed, and so was some of the other fellas, and we had comments to make. Gosh, look at this field, and they're going to build a new one?
So you played third base?
I played third base.
You regular third baseman that entire 59 season?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of, do you remember your fielding percentage there?
No, but I'll tell you what, it was a lot better than it should have been because a young man named Grayson Mersch that played first base, and we called him the vacuum cleaner. I couldn't throw one by him. The only way you could get one past Mersch was if you threw it over his head. He caught everything that came, and I just never worried about it. I just concentrated on catching everything I could off the bat and then throw it somewhere in the vicinity, and Mersch would come up with it.
That's great. Jim, I think, did you hit in the 4-hole? Were you the cleanup?
Well, I was not.
Okay, what?
Until the final game of the 59 series. Ben Bancroft was a cleanup hitter. I was only a sophomore, as you know, and Ben he was a year ahead of me, really a good hitter, and I kind of caught fire at the College World Series, and Ben had a little bit of a downturn. But to his credit, later in the series, he came up and hit a home run that helped us win the championship.
What was your normal place in the batting order?
I was 5.
5-0.
And Coach Greene just switched places, moved Ben to 5 and me to 4. I think I only did that one game. That was the final game of the series. I could be wrong, maybe 2 games, but I think it was just one.
So you could hit for power, to his understanding. How many home runs did you have that year?
I really do not remember, but all the stuff that I've read was either 6 or 7.
And your batting average, you recall that?
342.
342.
Yeah.
Whoa! For a power hitter, that's pretty good. Pretty good, Jim. Well, look, I've heard some stories that I want you to verify them for me, okay? These are team travel stories. First of all, you didn't go on a plane, you didn't go on a luxury bus. Can you tell me how the team traveled to games?
We just traveled in individual cars of 4 and 5 guys in each car, and it wasn't even caravan. You just got kind of scattered out from wherever you started out of Stillwater, and guys would arrive at kind of different times and they'd stop and eat when they wanted to and stuff of that nature. Like you said, you were asking about Coach Greene. He didn't seem to put the clamps down on anybody that you be here at this certain time and so forth. He just said be there. It seemed like when we'd go, it would be really early in the morning.
And I guess we'll bypass the St. Louis story. Is that right?
I only know about the St. Louis story of what the guys that were involved in it told me. I was not there, so I can't verify whether it was true or if they embellished the stories a little bit.
There were some extracurricular activities.
There must have been.
All right. What, Jim, do you recall what the expectations for the team was when you started? I mean, did you have any idea that you're going to be that? I mean, not that you were national champion. Did you think you'd be really outstanding ball club?
Well, I was talking to one of the guys, Marvin Klein, who you'll talk to here in a few minutes, and he actually told me that Coach Greene told him that he thought that he had the potential to win the national championship. First time I had ever heard that story from Marvin. And you might want to ask Marvin about that and about some of the things that he talked to Coach Greene about, because he told me that he had come to school, then he left school and went in the military. And he came back later and he had a lot of experience and played at Enid High School, and Coach Greene had asked him to come and be on the team. And so I think you ought to ask him about that.
Right.
But back to, what was your question again?
Well, you kind of, how good did you
expectations.
Think your expectations for the team?
Well, I sort of had expectations in my own mind, but I didn't even know what the national championship was. I didn't know it was played in Omaha, Nebraska. I was 3 months removed from being a teenager when we won the national championship. So you can see how naive I probably was. But here's my recollection of that. When I got to Stillwater, I looked out there, and here's Bruce Andrew at second base. I'd played against Bruce Andrew in American Legion ball in high school. I knew what his abilities were. Bob Andrew, his brother, was a shortstop. I didn't know about Grayson Mersch at first base, but you could certainly tell that nobody threw the ball by him. He was an excellent defensive first baseman. Ray Bond was the catcher who I'd played with in high school, and he was an outstanding catcher. I don't think I ever saw a better defensive catcher than Ray in all the years that I played. And Ben Bancroft was a good addition, and I could see he had ability. And then we had 3 pitchers. And I'd played with Dick Sorgel, and I knew what kind of pitcher he was. And Toby had put him behind Roy Peterson and Joel Horland. And I thought
he was actually third, wasn't he?
And so to me, that meant that he thought that Dick was number 3. But they were seniors. And we only had 3 seniors on the pitching staff coming back, as I recall, and Ben Bancroft. And I think he only got to play a little bit as a sophomore, and this was his junior year. But I knew all these other guys, and we had all played with each other or against each other. And I said to myself, hey, we could have a pretty good team, because I knew all of them. Don Sorgel was Dick Sorgel's brother, who I didn't know, except I knew that they were a lot alike, and Don was an all-state athlete at Capitol Hill 3 or 4 years before I was there. So I knew we had a really good chance to have a good team.
Was there you mentioned some of the players who probably were sort of your leaders on the team that year, who you kind of go-to guys?
You know, the thing that I remember most about that was the word camaraderie. It didn't seem like there was anybody that stepped out there and said, I'm the big leader, and that. It was like, hey, boy, we're all for one and one for all. And it was the most compatible, congenial mix. And I've heard other guys say that today and during this visit. But the leadership came from those pitchers. They just went out there and did the job. And everybody else just kind of meshed in, and it just fit really good.
Was there a series or a game during the season you look at as kind of a turning point maybe for you when you said, hey, we really got over the hump?
Yes. In my whole career, I was always a slow starter. It just seemed like it took me a while to make all the pieces sort of fit. And we went to Houston, and we played 4 games against Houston and Bryce, 2 games each. And I think I recall, and you probably know this, most athletes want to know what their statistics are. And in my mind, I think I was hitting 250 when we got back from the Houston trip. And in my mind, it seems like it wasn't very long that we went to Norman and played the University of Oklahoma, which of course is our big rival team then, still is, probably always will be. Yep. And we beat them 3 games in a row. And I had a breakout, as I think, is that the word you used? And I said, hey, I can do this. And I had one of those series that you dream about. I just couldn't do anything wrong. It's like I was in that. Have you ever heard Michael Jordan talk about being in the zone? Well, I kind of feel like that in that weekend. We beat them 3 in a row on their home turf, and I was in the zone, and so was most of the team.
My understanding is that during this season, you only lost 1 series, and you played 3-game series in the old Big 8.
That's correct.
It seemed like it was Iowa State, I don't recall, but maybe 1 series.
I think it was Iowa State was the only series that we lost, and Iowa State had a good team. They did have a good team, had good pitching.
What about, was there one for the team? You talk about for yourself, for the breakout series with the University of Oklahoma. How about for the team? Was there
I think the same thing.
You think it was the same
series? I think
series?
that was a breakout because I think it was the time when we all just kind of came together, and it wasn't that I know all these guys and I know what they're capable of. It was, I know all these guys, I know what they're capable of, and now they have proven it because we beat them bad. They just had no answer.
What would you consider the strengths of the team? Was it defense, pitching, hitting?
It was the same thing that's always been, is today, and always will be, up the middle. We had strong pitching, we had strong catching, we had strong short. Second base, Bob and Bruce, great double play combo. Ben Bancroft in center field. And then you fill in with the first baseman, and of course we had the vacuum cleaner over there. And
So great defense then.
we had great defense.
And good pitching.
And great pitching.
And
And the schedule set up perfect. Because all you had to do was play 3 games in a weekend and come back and pitch the same 3 guys. And very few guys got to play. When those guys went out on the mound, they started it and they finished it for the most part.
Like, is it your recollection? I remember talking to Dick Sorgan. I said, well, Dick, who was your reliever? And it's kind of like, we didn't have relievers in those days.
And that's true. I don't think we did have relievers.
So these guys, I mean, they had to have a good game. If it's a bad game, there's going to be a really bad game, right? Because they're going to be there the whole time.
I guess.
Yeah.
But they never did have a bad game that year. We just had one of those magical years.
What? So the team that won the Big 8 conference and automatically qualified for the playoffs, is that right?
I think what they had the nation split into 8 districts, and each of those districts would go to Omaha and play in the College World Series. And our district was 5, and I think it was the Missouri Valley champion that played the Big 8 champion.
Bradley, you guys played like the
We went to
best of 3
Bradley
series.
And played a 3-game series with Bradley.
So the winner then in these 8 regionals, if you'd call them, or whatever they call them,
Districts.
the winner that would go to the College World Series.
That's correct.
So 8 teams, double elimination.
That's correct.
Like it is today. Okay. Well, so as I recall, the guys we lost to Arizona but beat Arizona. I'm getting ahead of my story a little bit, but let me ask you. Okay. First of all, what was the College World Series like? I mean, it's a pretty big hype nowadays. But was it still a big deal in those days?
It was really a big deal. I remember thinking this, but I was in that zone again at Omaha, and so I didn't even think about it. But the crowd was there. The people were very supportive of it. Each team had I don't remember exactly what it was, but to me, in my mind, it was like the Kiwanis Club would sponsor the Oklahoma State team, and what are some of the other civic organizations? The Rotary, and they would do all the other teams, and every team that was there had somebody do that, and they would haul us from the hotel to the ballpark, and they treated us just like, couldn't have been treated any better.
Just stayed in a motel there in Omaha.
Yeah, stayed in the finest hotel in there.
Back and forth to the ball games.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like to me I don't recall for sure, but it seems like they may have done some other activities for us, but it's 50 years ago.
Was it special to play in those kind of ball games, that kind of atmosphere?
Oh, it was very special because we were playing on almost a major league type baseball. It was AAA. Omaha had a AAA team there, and that was the baseball diamond that we got to play on. I remember one unique thing about it. I can't remember the guy's name, but it seemed like it was Dusty somebody that was the umpire, and he had been a big league umpire. And I recognized his name, and man, this is really a big deal. We're playing with big league umpires too. And he would step on a button behind the home plate, and this little thing would come up, and here were extra balls, and he'd get a couple balls and put them in his pocket and press the button, and it'd go back down. I was really impressed with that. So to me, it was first class all the way.
Great. What you had for yourself, Jim, especially you had obviously you were MVP, most valuable player. College World Series had to be special for you. Can you go back and kind of take some of the games and special hits, special games you remember?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say the only reason that I was the MVP were all those guys that were on that team and the guys that participated in the practices, scrimmaged against us, helped us develop our skills to become that good. So I hope all of them will know that I'm sincere when I say I think this is as much an honor for them as it was for me, because it it would have been impossible for me to be the MVP without them. So I hope they'll take credit for it too.
Well, let's give you a little credit too, Jim. You know, what were some key? You remember some key hits you got in some of the games?
Well, I can't say this for sure, but I think Bill Platt was the announcer, and he had just started his career. But I could be wrong about that. Maybe he had already been the OSU announcer, but I didn't think so. But that's beside the point. Anyway, he was a great announcer, and he used to say flattering things about the guys, and I heard him, you know, years later, and he was just an outstanding announcer. But I guess one of the special things that I remember was I just started doing, it was building as the year went by. As I told you, I started very slow. I was hitting 250 after the first 4 games, and we only got to play 32. So that's a pretty high percentage of the total games. And by the time we finished with OU, I just got confidence, and I seemed to just get a little better and a little better. And I was reading the paper after we went to Peoria, and I'm almost sure, I could be wrong, it may have been Otis Weil, but I somehow got Bill Platt mixed in there. And I didn't know this, and said Dobson came to the plate, stepped up, hit a mighty shot that went over a house behind the left field barrier. And I thought, I didn't hit a ball that far. But it's like I said, it's one of those magical years, and just everything seemed to really go right.
Jim, what stands out in your mind in the championship game, the second game against Arizona? I guess we won 5-3. What stands out in your mind about that game?
Well, I'll tell you kind of a funny story here. As I told you, it was like I was in the zone, and I'd been batting real good. And before the final game, I think it was trainer Byron Bird that said, "Get your speech ready. You're going to be the MVP." And I walked up to the plate, first time at bat, and I was feeling confident, and I was just really anxious to get up there. And I had been told that this was their ace for Arizona pitching, and he was a darn good pitcher. And he threw me one. I hit it right on the nose, right at the left fielder. And I took off, and later I ran into this left fielder, and he said, "You know that ball you hit in the first inning, first time at bat?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I was the guy that caught it." Oh, I said, "Really? You dog." He said, "You know what?" He said, "It was hit so hard and I couldn't even judge it." He said, "I had to leap up to do it." And he said, "I broke my supporter." I thought that was pretty funny. If you're offended on this, watching this, I apologize. If you have your kids or something, you can explain the rest of it to them.
Now, you had a couple other hits in that game, though, didn't you, that actually fell in? Tell us about those.
Well, I had had so much success, and I'm sure from the first game, I was hitting very well. And I'm sure they had their scouts watching and said, "Well, here's how we got to pitch this guy," and so forth. And so we got somewhere midway toward the end of the series, and the guy was on the mound, and I thought to myself, this was one of the things that went through my mind. What would I pitch this guy if I was the pitcher? And I can't tell you why I thought this, but I thought, he might throw me a changeup. And he did. And I hit it over the left field fence.
But stayed back and waited on it.
But unbeknownst to me, one of the guys told me later, said the ball hit right on top of the fence and it bounced on over. In those days, you did not do like they do today, slug it out of sight and then stand there and watch it go, because guys would be on your case big time if you call that hot dogging, and I didn't want to do that, so I wasn't watching the ball, I was running.
Was that the go ahead?
I don't really remember it was whether it was go ahead, but that wasn't the final game. That was one of the games before. I hit 2 home runs in the series up there.
Great.
And that was the first one that I hit.
Well, it must, Jim, be special for you to think about. You played on the only baseball team that won the NCAA championship. Think of all the great Gary Ward teams and of course Frank Anderson teams we have now. Great talent, great players, Pete Incavillas and Robin Venturas. But you guys, the only ones that ever everyone. And then you come back a couple years later and were in the finals, weren't you? Didn't get in the finals in the College World Series?
Uh-huh.
So it must have been, was it those special seasons
Very,
for
very
you?
special. The way I remember it is I got to play on teams that went, for the 3 years that I played, we won a first, a second, and a tied for the third. And I thought that was pretty darn special for a career for a guy to have.
Wow.
But I wasn't the only one. The whole infield, except for Bob Andrew, were all sophomores. And so they had the same experience that I did. And that was just very special to say, you played on 3 teams, we won the first, second, and tied for a third.
For those next couple of years, was there an African-American player on the team at that time you recall?
We had a guy named Blakely that was a pitcher that was on that team. But he left somewhere before we got to Omaha, and I don't really remember. Guys would kind of come and go, and Coach Greene would, some of us laugh about this, seemed like he would run them off if he didn't think they were going to help us. And I don't think that was the case in this case, but it seems like the guys would come and go, and you don't know what happened to them. And Blakely was kind of one of those kind of guys. He was out there one day, and then I just didn't see him anymore. And of course, you're busy trying to make your grades and make practice and be at the games. And college life was very busy. I recall that as being a very busy time in my life. You didn't have time to do a whole lot.
Jim, what, in your mind, you probably watched a lot of baseball since then, but I'm talking about college baseball. In your mind, how has college baseball changed since the years you played to now?
Well, one of the big differences is that it was a lot easier for us to win the College Worlds or to win the national championship because you didn't have the regionals like we have today. You didn't have the super regionals. You didn't have to go through what I consider to be a darn big obstacle course in order to make it to Omaha. Mm-hmm. All we had to do was win the Big 8, which, I mean, that's a good accomplishment. I don't want to say that our guys didn't earn it because we did. And not just me, but all of them did too. And then all we had to do was win the district playoffs, 2 out of 3 games, which we were fortunate enough to do when we traveled to Peoria. And then you were in the big show at Omaha. Mm-hmm. And today, I mean, I listened to a lot of Gary Ward's teams, and I mean, making it through the regionals and the super regionals is a big deal. And the competition was probably much, much greater. And then the money that the programs were able to put in, most of it went to football. Yeah. Baseball program, a lot of guys didn't have full scholarships. They'd have a partial, maybe a half or 3/4 or something like that. So the competition was not as tough, I don't think. I think that we didn't have as tough as they have it today.
Jim, what about facilities? Are you excited about what's happening? And you got, of course, out of Freedom Stadium, they're talking about building a new stadium in here. But what?
Well, as I said a little earlier, we were all saying they're going to build a new stadium. This was fabulous because we just had the bleachers and the hill on the. But I will say this, and all the fans that came, they came and supported us. As my memory is that we had 4,000 and 5,000 and more people that come out and watch a baseball game. Especially, you know, in the spring and a nice day, the sun was shining and no wind and stuff like that. And it was a good outing. People sat out on that hill and get a suntan, and they cheered us on.
That's great. Well, what is it about? You've been gone, but you've come back, Jim, and kind of stayed in touch with your alma mater. What is it about Oklahoma State University, do you think, that makes alumni so loyal and want to come back and be part of the program?
Really good question, but the thing that is so good to me is just the people that you dealt with in your era. Mm-hmm. We had such great people, all those guys on that baseball team. If you look at them today, I mean, they went on to great careers. They were great citizens, not just baseball players or what some people say, dumb jocks. Mm-hmm. They were quality people, and that's what I remember. I mean, I'd just love to see all the guys today.
Jim, what about, before we close, I want to ask you a little about your football career. Okay. You played running back, and it started, as I recall, for a year or two before you got injured, is that right? Mm-hmm. Did you play in the Bluegrass Bowl?
I did not get to play in the game. I went to the game, suited up, but I didn't get to play. I just didn't get to play in the Bluegrass game, but my sophomore year, I got to play. I was the returner of kickoffs. And Then the next year, I was thought enough of that I was a starting right halfback when the season started. And then got a knee hurt, got a hip pointer, got a calcium deposit on the left thigh, and got a thumb knocked down. It was a pretty rough year physically for me, but it started off pretty good, but kind of went downhill pretty fast. By the time we got.
Well, looking back, Jim, just OSU generally, not just your sports and so on, but what are there some special memories, favorite times that you recall at Oklahoma State?
I really think that outside of the baseball, the only thing I kind of remember in baseball and football and basketball, because I was so busy doing those things, that it didn't seem like I participated in a whole lot until my senior year. And then, of course, I met my spouse here when I was a senior and came back for that last semester to get my degree. That was very special for me, and I had joined the Sigma Chi fraternity because on a quirk, really, I got to know a lot of guys that were outside of athletics and become friends with them, and some of them were also jocks. Grayson Marsh was a Sigma Chi, and a guy that I roomed with in football named Jim Frazier, who was an All-American high school football player at Ada. I roomed with him for several years, and he was a Sigma Chi. And so one day we were walking across campus, and I didn't realize it at the time, but everyone that was walking across there was a Sigma Chi except me. There was about 10 of us or so, and I said, gosh, I wish I'd have been a Sigma Chi. And one of the guys said, well, maybe you should have been or something. And I said, well, maybe I'll just do it now. And he said, okay. And so I pledged really late and became a member. And that was a very special time because I made many dear friends in that.
Jim, is there anything we hadn't covered? Anything you'd like to share with us about your
They've probably
baseball
heard
days?
all of me they want to hear.
We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.